Philip Ingham's still with me. Delighted to be joined now by Justin Urquhart Stewart. He's an economist, of course, you know him as the chairman of the Regionally Investment Platform. A very good morning to you, Justin.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about Benefits Britain, one of your favourite topics, I'm sure. But Keir Starmer has vetoed plans, we are told, for it sounds very decisive of him, doesn't it? He's vetoed plans for a fresh attempt to reform Britain's welfare system because they want to basically avoid another confrontation with Labour MPs. And this is the issue. They tried a pathetic attempt to cut £5 billion off the welfare bill involving disability benefits. I thought it was the wrong cut, actually, because it was actually cutting the money disability claimants would get, as opposed to cutting the number of people who could get disability benefits who didn't need them, which would seem to me to be the obvious thing to do. They were basically got a rebellion from the backbenchers. By the way, any British Prime Minister on the Labour benches, with this Labour backbench, wouldn't be able to get anything through. So he's decided they're not going to try anything until later in this Parliament. But the reality is they're not going to do it ever, are they?
It was so stupid. We're living way beyond our means. And here you had a couple of bills we're going to go through, which are cutting, as you say, £5 billion. Now, look at the overall budget for social protection. You're talking about over £400 billion.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's more than our entire income tax take, just on the one area alone, let alone health service, defence, and any of those other areas.
And also, by the way, crucially, it wasn't cutting the bill by £5 billion. The bill was going to go up. It's just it wasn't going to go up by quite as much. It was going to go up by that much, minus £5 billion. I mean, that was the best they could offer.
I mean, this is just you trying to do a Canute and try and stop the tides coming up any further. It's coming anyway, and you're going to find yourself in more difficulty. And you're raising that debt even higher. Remember now, our debt interest is over 100 billion, and compare that with the defence budget, between 50 and 60 billion. It used to be roughly the same, but with what we've had with some clever person actually making sure a proportion of our debt is now index linked, so when inflation goes up, we pay more.
Yay!
Another good idea from Gordon Brown there. And so we're in a position where you're not running this economy responsibly to be able to balance your books. What you're doing is just a debt management issue based on your backbenchers' revolt. We're being run by politics for politics, not actually in terms of the welfare of the country, the future welfare.
But again, what's also fascinating is, Labour is clue in the name. It's supposed to be the party of the working class, and the people who are most horrified by the welfare dependency in this country are people who are the working class, who are living in the same streets, living next door to people who, when they're getting up for work, at 6 o'clock in the morning to go and undercross, are living next door to people who are sitting at home all day doing sod all, getting pretty much the same income.
Yes, so should be creating more jobs. And I don't mean government jobs. We know where these jobs can be from. The largest employer in this country, and I'm sorry to go on about it, but smaller companies. We're really good at setting these up. They're the people who employ, and guess who hasn't been recruiting over the past 2 years because of national insurance, put a tax on jobs? They've stopped. And so you're going to see more of that, as you're going to see some pain coming through with the increase on, we're seeing business rates, and although there's been some amelioration for some of the pubs, frankly, not a lot.
No.
And what's that going to mean? And you only have to go out for a meal somewhere and you'll suddenly notice my meal's taking longer to get here. There are less people working here. And so you're actually ruining your own economy. Get people working.
But also pubs and restaurants aren't going to, hospitality and other businesses aren't going to do well, including shops and everyone else, if people haven't got the money. And they haven't got the money because they're finding it difficult to make ends meet. I mean, it's all, but so much of it does come back down to the taxes. And we were talking to Tom Kerridge yesterday about the pub situation. So much of the costs of running a pub are taxes.
Are taxes. And there's one fundamental element to this. Remember, wealth allows you to be able to to have more tax.
Yeah.
Putting tax up does not create wealth. It's the wrong way round. So it doesn't matter which side of which party you're on, encourage the economy to grow, create more wealth, and lo and behold,
the Prime Minister apparently, even whilst kowtowing to Xi Jinping in China, has a steely focus on growth and the cost of living here in the UK. But we don't seem to have any policies that suggest that. But again, the key thing is, we want to have a limit on legal and illegal immigration in this country. Well, you can only do that if businesses can find people to work, and they need those people who are currently on benefits claiming they're too anxious on a Monday morning to work to be out looking for work and understanding you're going to actually have to turn up every day. This old-fashioned idea of doing what your boss tells you to do in return for the money that you live on. I mean, mind-blowing concept, but it's worked for most of us for most of our lives. But the reality is we can't afford to have millions and millions of people on pensions for 30 years and millions of people on welfare for their entire lives.
This is irresponsible government, because what you should be doing actually is making sure you're planning for the future. We don't do any planning for the future.
We don't plan for next week.
No, well, exactly. We'd like to say a plan for the next election, but I don't know when that's going to be. But obviously, you're in a situation now where we can grow this economy. Everyone's saying we don't know how to grow it. Yes, we do. We know the levers that are there. It doesn't cost a lot. You can actually have enterprise investment schemes which work. And throughout the country, we know those hotspots are those high-tech hotspots, which actually grow and will actually employ people.
But wouldn't we just do better just by leaving businesses alone and not punishing them? That would be the key thing. Can I just throw another stat with you, though? This is something the Scottish Conservative Party is they're blaming not just the Labour Party in England and in Wales, but the Scottish Conservative Party blaming it's really hotting up for those Scottish elections in May, as well as local elections here in England, where I am, and also in the Welsh senators as well. But they're saying that actually SNP just as bad. They're saying benefits claimants in Scotland, a parent with 3 children could receive the same amount of money as a person earning a £56,000 salary. They could take home nearly 42 grand a year through a combination of their welfare payments, either from the government in the Westminster or their devolved welfare payments. Basically they're saying, it's simply not worth anyone's while to work with that level of benefits. And that's the reality, isn't it?
It is, and you look at the calculations they were doing here, they were saying actually the equivalent of that if you had a salary would be £56,000. Now, how many people in Scotland actually earn £56,000?
Apparently, only 15%.
15% is ridiculous. So, where shall I go so I don't actually do any work and get paid for it? I shall go back to Scotland.
But we've got the same issue in England and in Wales. But the answer from the left is always, do you want the children to suffer? The same argument I would give when it comes to things like the 2-child benefit cap, an extra £3.5 grand a year for parents who don't work, who are by the way, they are mostly not working and certainly not working full time, is that, that's down to the parents. Don't have kids you can't afford. And if you're having another kid, maybe you need to work a few extra hours, like everyone else does.
Oh, absolutely, and plan that properly for it. So people, we always get to hear, those are my rights. Okay, what are your obligations? Your obligations are to work and pay tax and do your bit towards society. If you want to go into a fast breeder and produce more children, as you say, that's your affair, by all means. But why should we pick up the extra costs for all of that? So these figures are frightening when you actually look at it. Because remember, we've only got 3 sources of major income. You've got actually the income tax you've got coming through on that. You've got VAT and you've got national insurance. Even corporation tax is much, much more than that. Those are the 3 areas. And we're way beyond that now. We have to cut this back, not necessarily overnight, a plan to actually get it to neutral. And we did get it to neutral under Mrs. Thatcher. Am I allowed to use that word still? Where actually there was a headline in the Times that actually said, what is there a future for a gilts market? Because they no longer needed to borrow. It was shrinking.
Oh,
and
bless them. Bless them. Justin Urquhart Stewart, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Always appreciate you joining us. Philip Ingram's been listening to all of that. It is absolutely mind-boggling, isn't it? And this whole sort of hand-wringing, all these poor people have to give them more welfare, you can't cut anything. When you're taking money, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in lots of these cases.
Oh, very much so. And we need to start to force people to take some responsibility for what it is that they're doing.
And their own choices in life.
And their own choices in life. And,
then they'll bleat on about a woman, for instance, she's been raped and therefore... Sorry, this is not most people who are having a third child.
It's a very small percentage, and there are a small number of people who are extremely deserving of support, and they're not getting the support that they need because it's going to the spongers. And I think those that are routinely getting benefits should be forced to work for their benefits.
Local village hall, exactly. You're going to still have to get up at 7 o'clock, so you may as well
clean the graffiti off the walls.
Local village halls, people on the benefits. Literally, you have to come and explain why you're on the benefits. Sorry,
and you dig the weeds up, you clear the litter up, you clear the graffiti up.
You don't want to do that. Absolutely fine. You don't get paid.
Correct.
Same as a job. It's old-fashioned. I'm with you all the way. Absolute workfare all the way. Come the revolution, guys, when I'm in charge. Just saying.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Empress. Why do people keep demoting me? Empress. Anyway, holding out for Empress.